Another book means more reading. Well, hello again and welcome back to Ruby the Elite. And we continue on with the project of the Helix. Book number 7. We are running out of fingers, folks. Gotta finish this bike up soon. Otherwise, we gotta pull out the toes. Well, first I want to say I made a mistake.
No!
Yes, I even make mistakes, folks. We all do. I'll mention that later in the video, though. But if you haven't watched 1 through 6, click up here. Watching from this point on, that's no fun at all. And you know what I have to say about that? I'm going to give you the fingers. You know, something that I always say when you buy a scooter that's used, what's the most important thing to do? Yes, buy some new tires. This bike is no different. This Helix had the Bridgestones on it that it came with. Now, if you look at those tires, you'll notice right away that they look fine. They look fine, but they are hard and they're no longer safe. So what did I buy? Some Hide Now. I went with some German tires this time. Never have used Hide Now tires until this bike. We're going to see how well they perform. We need to clean up this rim. It's completely filthy, of course. But I wanted to have the tire installed first before we go ahead and start to beautify anything. But the real thing that I wanted to mention is our second budget gadget. All right, the rim and tire are all cleaned up, and let's talk about budget gadget number 2. Keep in mind, budget gadgets can come in any size, any color, anything electronic or non-electronic, something that helps your scooter that has nothing to do with getting from A to B. Now, something I can't stand that manufacturers do, I understand the importance of them though, is the reflectors they install. I usually remove them all, and you know that's a big no-no. You want to be seen at night, so you got to replace them with something. In my case, I purchased this reflective tape. It's in the same color as the rims, so when I install these during the day, you can't even tell it's on, but at night it's going to shine up. Now, I have used this in the past. Actually, the scooter I owned prior, the PCX 150, the person who owned the bike tried to install this while the rim was still on the bike, made a mess of it. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that the rim and tire are in front of you, off the bike. That way you can take your time, install it. The way that I took it off that PCX, I installed a red rim tape, and it came out perfect. Look at how it glowed. You have to do this while the rim and tire are off the bike. It's all about planning your attack. While you take the scooter apart, make sure you have your plan of attack in order so you know what to do and when to do it. Look at that glow. Awesome. Gadget number 2. No more dirt under the dress. I cleaned all that up before I put the tire back on. Had to be done. All right, now that we have the new tire on the rim, we're going to go in reverse order and put it all back together. We've got the tire on there. Next, we're going to go ahead and put the shock on. We'll just let it dangle, no big deal. Now we're going to clean up this pipe because we have our brand new pipe gasket. Remember, the previous owner decided to remove it and never put a new one on. And that's kind of funny because it takes a little bit of force to get that old gasket out of there. But as you can see, there is nothing in there. I was so surprised. this might be aiding, probably is aiding to all the backfiring. Now the gasket, which I did purchase, of course, another Honda part. That is the part number if you care. There is two sides to this gasket. It's kind of like a sealing washer. You're going to put the flat side towards the heat. So this side is going to go towards the pipe. This side is going to go towards the heat. See how it's nice and flat with the metal surface. I'm not going to bore you with the installation. It's just a matter of pushing it on, which I'll show you. And then we'll put the pipe on afterwards with the two big lug nuts. But I wanted to show you what the gasket looked like before installation. Now, we're going to go ahead and put our swing arm on. I did install the axle collar, by the way, didn't forget. Figured I'd mention that. Now we're going to take the shock and we're going to install it right onto the swing arm. It's a little bit easier to do it this way rather than putting the swing arm on first and then trying to get the shock on. You could do it either way. I just found it was easier to do it this way for the installation. And we just put it over the axle. And we'll use a rubber mallet with some light taps over one of our sockets. And we'll get it back on. It's not going to hurt the threads. Just give it some nice little love taps. No big deal. Maybe about 10 or so, and then it will be installed. Look at the white glow, by the way. I forgot to mention, it is white reflecting tape. All right, we're going to go ahead and wipe it up. And then we're going to put on our washer along with our nut. And we'll get this all buttoned down. Next, we're going to go ahead and replace the other gasket. Now keep in mind when you go to install this, you have to be very gentle with it. Push it in as far as you can with your hands. Again, be gentle with it. And then you go ahead and beat it. No, I'm just kidding. But this is the way you put it back on. You lightly hit it with a rubber mallet till it goes in. Once you go to install the muffler on the bike, it'll push it the rest of the way. You don't need to expand this or put anything in it to make it wider. It will go in all on its own. I've seen a few individuals make it wider so they could fit that in. There was one already in it. You don't need to widen it. That's a no-no. Watch how I push it all back on with no problem. And there you go. Now we have some bolts that hey, Pizza Pointer, where you been? Show us the bolts, the 4. They've got to go there. One right there, and then another one. Okay, you got to get under there. Another one on the bottom. Then we also had a bolt. Okay, got it, Pizza Pointer. Thank you. All installed. All right, I'm going to show you the steps that I use to install the carburetor. It's going to be the stress-free way for you to do it. Now, when you have the carburetor in your hand, this is the best time to install these lines. The fuel line, the 2 coolant lines, and that air line. Install them first. Don't push the carburetor on and then try to install them. Do this beforehand and it'll make it easy for you. Make sure your clamps are all in place. And then that way you can get your hand where you need to. Much easier than if you've already put the carburetor in the insulator. This is a step that a lot of folks don't do. And then they have stress trying to get those lines all connected. The next thing that is just the most important, and Honda put this in this place to make this simple for us all. But you gotta make sure that you do it. And that's putting this bolt in through your air chamber into your carburetor. This must be in place before anything is locked down. And what I mean by locked down is nothing is tightened, no bands are in place yet. You're gonna go ahead and tighten the first band for your air chamber in the front. Do this first. It's going to be very easy to do, again, because the bolt's in place. Then, as you slide the air chamber into the air box, you're doing at the same time sliding the carburetor into the carburetor insulator. If they both don't slide in together, then you don't have that bolt done. Now you see why that bolt is so important. Lock down the air box with the band, then last, tighten up the band for the carburetor. After you're done with that, you've got another line in the back for your air cutoff, which is right here. Now we'll move back to the front just to show you there is this line right here going into our thermostat to show the heat. And then we also have our plug and our yellow plug under there. Now we'll go to the other side to talk about the throttle cables and reinstalling them the correct way. And with the throttle cables, you're going to want to do the bottom one first, wrapping it around in the back. Start in the back. Don't try to put the front on and then wrap it around. You're just going to be wasting time. So wrap it around here, come up to the front. You're going to do the same thing with the top one. Wrap it around. Make sure that you go through the line, not around the line. Also make sure you're only using the adjustment nuts. These, not the ones in the back. You never need to touch those. I've seen so many videos with people using both. It defeats the purpose. You only need to use the adjustment nuts. And last, these plates, they have to go flat side out. The beveled side, or the side that's missing a little piece, that goes on the inside. Make sure you test it. Nothing is getting hung up. And if you go through these steps, I'm telling you, it is super fast and it's stress-free. Everything tightened down, ready to go. Another budget gadget, number 3. What's it gonna be? Well, this time we have a new bulb, but not the same old bulb that we've been using in the past. Of course, it is an LED, and I'll show you it in a moment. But let's first get this off the bike so we could put the new bulb inside. Very simple. 3 bolts take this headlight off. Just to protect it, I put it on a rag, pull the plug out. Underneath the plug, you have this cover that goes around the bulb. You turn it to release it. And there's your old bulb. Very easy to remove. And let me show you what we're going to install. I purchased another LED, of course, 2600 lumens. But what's different about this one is it actually has a blue halo around the bulb. Moto LED. And as you can see, I paid $13 for it. If you wish to purchase one of your own. And it only took about 8 days to get it. I was quite impressed with how fast they shipped it. Also was impressed with how well built it was. You don't need to use any kind of other installation pieces. This will go right on with no issue. And you have the fan that's in the middle, the LED ring. Very well built. I was impressed. Of course, we've got to clean everything out of here. It's our opportunity. Remove that headlight, opened up the door for some beautification. Now we'll go ahead and install it. It only goes in one way. So don't worry, it is very simple. As long as you purchase the right bulb, you won't have any issue at all. Now all I got to do is slide over this little clamp, which will only go one way. Don't remove it fully. And then lock it down. That's simple to install. Then we have our cover that goes right back over the bulb. And we have our two little arrows at the top. We want to make sure that we lock it down, just as I just did. All right, we're going to get all buttoned up, wiped up, put back together. All part of our master plan. You know, I already had this all taken apart. Perfect time to put a new bulb in. You know, if you're going through a project like mine, have everything planned out. Makes it so much easier for you. Now that we have the headlight all installed, let's turn the key, get some power. Look at that blue display. Now we have a blue halo to match. I thought it looked pretty neat. Definitely puts out a lot of light. I can't wait to test it. But let's look at budget gadget number 4. And number 4 starts with some windings around our ignition coil. If that didn't give it away, you'll see in a moment what this wire is going to connect to. As we ran it right along our frame underneath all of our clamps. Again, perfect time to install this. All the way up over our gas tank to behind our access panel is a nice little digital tack. It'll be perfect for setting carburetor idle speed or whatever I need it for in the future. I'm going to keep it behind my access panel. I really don't need to see this all the time, and I don't want to put a bunch of holes in my scooter just to be able to have this there to never look at. So I'll mount it underneath here, and it'll be a nice little thing to have added if ever needed. All right, time to fess up. I made a mistake, just as I stated at the beginning of the video. You're not supposed to oil the belt case element. Completely missed the fine print in the service manual. I've always oiled these filters in the past, but in this case, not the belt case element, folks. Take it back out, clean it up, make it dry. I guess because it's over the belt, they're afraid that it's going to drip on the belt. None of that happened. No harm done to mine. And I don't think it's a big deal anyway, but I wanted to make sure that I told you, remove the oil. All right, let's install the coolant. Been waiting for this. We've got our sealing washer we got to install on our bolt. Make sure you use the flat side towards the heat. And that inner ring that's got kind of a bevel to it, that goes towards the bolt. We'll hand tighten it in and then lightly torque it down till we can feel that seal. And then we are all set. We're ready to start filling. Of course, we put in the coolant. Oh, I forgot my rag. Well, let me show you the little bit of blue anyway first. I'll be careful. All right, we have our towel in place, of course. We have our first startup. We have a reserve tank full of coolant. Our fuses are installed so we can actually start it. Let's see what happens. It's all led up to this point. We need to make sure that our coolant is no longer bubbling and everything is full to capacity. And there you go. We have success. Thank goodness. Now we just have to watch our coolant level to make sure all the bubbles get out of the system. So we'll turn off the bike and turn it on a few times, make sure that the bubbles are all gone, and then we'll know that we have topped it off and we are good to go. Not seeing anything right there, but we'll go ahead and do this a few more times until we are good, and then we'll start it up again. First things first, wanted to show you got a new radiator cap. Needed to go. This one was nasty, probably peed on 5,000 times. Who knows? Nice new silver one in its place. Not very expensive, definitely worth putting it on. Now let's go ahead and start it up again. Now that we got our coolant all adjusted, let's hear it purr like a kitten. Alright, there she goes. She sounds beautiful. Think about where we started with, folks. Look at it now. Big difference between the two. Come a long way with this bike. So much more beautiful than it started out as. Let's take a look at the glow. I wanted to show it to you again. Excited me how nice it came out. That white glow. And then it's silver when you don't want to see it. It's nice because you have no idea it's even there until it gets dark. That was the whole point of that budget gadget number 2. By the way, we got lots more of those budget gadgets to come. There's so many things that I purchased. At least another 5. Nice new rubber there as well. That whole transmission area, boy, that was just a nasty mess when we started. Now I do realize that this is going to get dirty again, but she deserved a full makeover. She's got some nice new gadgets installed. It's at about 1,000. It's supposed to be at 1,500. I don't know. That might be a little bit too much. Might have to have an argument with Honda on that one. She's running really nice right now. I wanted to mention that the rear brake is fine. I didn't show it in the video, but I did go over it, made sure the pads looked fine. Only 522 miles, folks. It looks like brand new back there. The front tire, we're going to replace that next. We still have the front brake. We got to replace that brake fluid. That's for darn sure. We also need to do an oil change, plus lots more stuff that we're going to add and change the bike. It's going to look a lot different than what we started, but it's still going to be a Helix. It's just, we're going to have fun switching it up a little bit. You'll see that in the next few books. And if you haven't seen these other builds I've done or restorations, take a look. I'll include them right here. Just to give you an eye full of other bikes that I've touched from Honda, as well as my Morphus. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Thanks for stopping by.